What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Create from Truth podcast. I'm your host, Will. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about understanding how to find your definition of balancing business, balancing family, and balancing health. Now, this is something I don't think anybody has figured out to a T. And I'd also say that it's constantly fluctuating depending on what season you are in life. For me, what I'd like to do with this episode is lend you some experience that I've gone through over the last 7 years, some perspective as well that comes with being in business that amount of time and working from home, navigating relationships, navigating health, navigating all of the things that come with growing a business and growing a family and improving your health and spirituality at the exact same time. And understanding what this can look like for you. Because today is Sunday, today's Mother's Day, for example. And obviously I want to spend time with Morgan and my daughter and also my mom when she gets home. She's traveling right now. Just make sure that we're having a good family day. But I have some deadlines due tomorrow for business. Some pretty intense deadlines, to be honest, that I need some deeper work blocks to finish, which will take place tonight and take place a little bit tomorrow morning while I wake up early. And I want to talk about that and be real with that right now in this moment, as Morgan who's also is about 8 months pregnant right now. She's upstairs just resting in her bed, and our daughter is having a nap, and we're about to go to the park when our daughter wakes up and spend some more good family time. But there's always trade-offs that you need to make in order to optimize in different areas in your life. And like I said at the top of this podcast, there's no real exact science and exact sweet spot that I think you can consistently hit day after day after day. It ebbs and flows with the nature of life, right? Like, for example, we're about to give birth to our second daughter in literally 6 weeks now. So when that happens, and when we bring home our newborn for the first 4 to 6 weeks, my schedule is going to be all over the place again, just like it was when we brought home Sky, our firstborn daughter. And it'll be kind of chaotic until we get our feet under ourselves and start getting more into a rhythm and into a routine. But I want to talk about some of these elements right now because, A, there's no perfect situation that you can just get to and it'll be there consistently, but there are ways that you can manage it, right? You can manage the balance. I don't think there's just one balance point you hit consistently for the rest of your life. I think it's something that is managed depending on what season you are in life and what your priorities are in life. So to give you a little bit of context, so for example, where I'm at right now in this moment today, right? I've got some deadlines due tomorrow. They're going to require some deep focus from me and some deep work blocks from me, but I'm caught in a pickle because I don't want to sacrifice family time. I don't want to sacrifice spending time with Morgan and my daughter today. It's a beautiful day. I'm excited to go to the park with them. How can I do both? And how can I do both in a way that doesn't negatively affect my health as well? Because I don't want to stay up all night and chug coffee tonight at 8 p.m. and have a shitty sleep going into Monday morning, because Monday mornings are always very, very busy for me. So where's the sweet spot for me right now? And I want to give you some background on this, because if this was me, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would be extremely stressed right now. And the reason being is because I haven't yet built up the experience and built up the wins and the losses to give myself proof and give myself context that I am able to manage these different goals at the same time and still do a good job, right? Let me take you back to about 3 years ago now, when I was running my consulting business. This was right after COVID, or during COVID, I should say, 2020, 2021. And I had 11 employees. My nervous system capacity at that point, because that was very new to me and I was kind of thrust into that role because my consulting business was growing very, very rapidly just due to the demands of what COVID brought to us and how so many personal trainers, gym owners, whatever it may be, were forced to transition online. So businesses like mine grew very, very rapidly, sometimes in a negative way. And I'm going to talk about that here today. And my nervous system was during that time was consistently unregulated. I always had so many open tabs in my mind, my anxious and stressed out energy, because my business was growing at such a rapid rate, and my identity and almost my personal development wasn't able to keep up with those demands. That eventually it got to a point, and this was at the last half of 2021, where I had to slowly ramp things down, let go of a lot of team members, and stop taking on clients, because I needed to bring myself up as a person first in order to match the goals that I had in my coaching business. Now, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here, but what I am trying to say is that people don't have business problems. They have personal problems that show up in their business more times than not. And for me, I needed to increase my organizational skills, my communication skills, not just in my business, but also my relationship. And this is important. And this is why, especially in my message with Will Schiller Consulting and with this podcast right now, I'm really leaning into defining success as creating time, financial, and location freedom in a way where you're not buying the Lambos and the private jets, but you're getting to 20K, 30K per month. You have time to spend with your family. You can afford a nice vacation with your family. You can buy a nice truck or whatever it is that you guys want, afford organic food, and chill out on the weekends. And this is something that is more so the goal for most of the coaches that I work with, and me too, to a certain extent, just at a different level and different circumstances due to my business. But my point here is, during that time when I had 11 employees, my appendix burst, actually. And you could go into the science of why that happened and what that infection looked like in order to cause the rupturing of my appendix. But I actually attribute a lot of stress to that during that time. And that is something that I've always had in the back of my mind, because your health, your personal health, your business, current state of your business, and your relationships, they're holistically connected, right? You can't really isolate one completely without understanding that they are all affected due to you, the human being, and your energy and the inputs that you have in these different areas. So as I've gotten older, and I know I told you a couple stories in one there, but as I've gotten older, my nervous system capacity has massively increased by going through some of these things, some of these challenges in business and in relationships and different things that have come up in my life. Very similar to you. It's just different circumstances, right? So my nervous system capacity, for example, right now in this moment, of it being Mother's Day and me wanting to spend time with family, but also make sure that I'm able to complete my deadlines by tomorrow morning, I have a level of calm with it all, even though I have some pretty intense deadlines too. Reason being is because I've been here before. I know how I can work under pressure. I know how to create little time blocks to be extremely efficient, and I know I can get these things done. But my nervous system capacity might be very different than your nervous system capacity based off where you're at. For example, if you're anything like I was when I was growing Schiller Fitness, especially in the height of that growth, so this was back in 2018, 2019, Sundays were very stressful for me. The reason why Sundays were very stressful for me was because my business was growing very fast. I had a lot of online coaching clients, and Sundays were my check-in days with my clients. And it was very stressful for me because I had to spend pretty much all day doing check-ins with my clients until I optimized my systems. And at the time, my ex-girlfriend, that's when she wanted to hang out and do other things and spend time with family, and rightly so. It's a Sunday, right? You don't want to work like a dog all day on a Sunday. If you're religious, Sunday is the day of rest, right? Whereas for me as an online health and fitness coach, it was actually the opposite. Some days were arguably my busiest day with all the check-ins that were coming in and the lack of systems at the time that I had. So it took me, at that time, just to give you another example, it took me redefining things and saying, okay, how can I make sure that these Sundays aren't stressful for me anymore? And there was an element of increasing my nervous system capacity to be able to handle more through going through that stressful event? Yes. But also you need to think logically about it. How can I make sure that I can automate this check-in process a little bit more so it takes less of my time, energy, and input? How can I make sure that instead of it being very intense on Sundays, and this is what I actually did, I take 2 hours on Friday and I take 2 hours on Sunday morning, and I split my check-ins in half between my 30 or 40 clients, and I do 20 check-ins Friday afternoon, I do 20 check-ins Saturday morning, and then Sundays I can take completely off. And sometimes you need to zoom out, right, of that stress and anxiety to think clearer instead of just getting through the day-to-day every single day because you're very much in the weeds. So anyway, that's a 10-minute intro for this podcast of personal stories. But now I want to get into some nitty-gritty and some systems and habits and routines that I've currently put in place as a husband, as a father, as a businessman who works from home, that has served me well over the last 7 years, and I've adopted based off of the different seasons of life that I've gone through, and hopefully can help you as well. So I'm going to go through about, let me look at my notes here. I'm going to go through about seven elements that has really helped me when it comes to the personal performance of the main areas in life that's important to me. So number one is creating a transition ritual. Okay, so what do I mean by transition ritual? You think of anyone who works a 9 to 5 and they go to their office. They have a transition ritual. They are driving to and from work. The sun might be shining. They might be listening to their favorite music, their favorite podcast, and it gives them that time to kind of mentally check in or mentally unplug if you're going to or from work, and kind of recalibrate your nervous system before you go to work or you come home from work. Right? It's actually, I know a lot of people complain about commutes depending on how stressful it is, but it's actually can be, depending on how you see it, a needed element inside of your routine. Now, if you're anything like me and you work from home full time, you need to create some sort of a transition ritual. And I'm not saying commuting to work, but as you are putting on different hats in your life. So let me give you an example. I work in my basement. So this is a basement studio / office that you guys see right here. And then upstairs is the living room, the kitchen. That's where we live, obviously. And at around 5 p.m., depending on when I end my day, if it's 5 p.m., 6 p.m., sometimes 4 p.m., depending on when I end my day, my daughter and Morgan, my wife, are upstairs playing in the playroom. And they're excited to get dinner going, and I'm going to join them for dinner, right? If I end my calls and I just walk right upstairs, I'm unregulated. I haven't gone through a transition time to be able to regulate my nervous system, get into my fatherhood energy instead of my businessman energy, and be in the moment with my girls. So for me, and this is number one, create a transition ritual, there's two different things that I do. And it kind of depends on the seasons. If it's warm, because I live in Canada here, right? If it's warm or if it's like the dead of winter. So if it's warm out like it is right now, usually what I'll do, and I have a dog too, highly recommend getting a dog if you guys work from home. I'll walk my dog. So when I end my day, instead of going up and hanging out with my girls first, I will get Finn and I'll go through the garage and I will go for a walk, get some sun, get some fresh air, do some deep breathing. I'll think about my day. I'll think about what I need to do tomorrow just to mentally prime. And then I'll come home and Finn will be walked, my dog, my golden retriever / lab, best kind of dogs in my opinion. And then he's good. And then I'm regulated as well to hold space for my girls and be in the moment, especially as a man. I know there's a lot of women listening to this podcast too, but especially as a man, it's your duty to hold space for the people in your family, especially as a father. So if you're not right, you can't effectively hold that space for maybe your daughter who's having a temper tantrum, or your wife who needs to talk to you about certain things going on in her life or how she's navigating certain challenges. And if you don't have the emotional capacity and the nervous system regulation to be able to hold that space for them, you need to get yourself right, man, because you're not doing your job as a father or as a husband. And this is something I needed to learn the hard way. So that transition time is very important. So that's one way. The second way, if it's kind of like the dead of winter outside, depending on where you guys live, or if I'm just kind of strapped for time, what I'll do is I'll end my day. So my Zoom calls, all the different things that I've been doing throughout the day, I'll end my day. And what I'll do is I'll do a quick 5 to 10 minute brain dump just on a piece of paper. Because if you're anything like me, your brain, especially as online coaches, right, and business owners and entrepreneurs, there's a million things that we can do at any one point in time. So your brain is probably just going a million miles an hour. So what I'll do is I will brain dump all the ideas, all the things I want to do tomorrow. I'll plan my next day. I'll brain dump for 5 to 10 minutes. I'll put on a couple of songs on Spotify to kind of get in the flow, and I will just brain dump. And then what I'll do, I'll get everything done, and depending on time, if I have another 5 to 10 minutes, I'll put on my headphones, and I'll just do a 5 to 10 minute meditation on YouTube or wherever it is. Just to, again, get in a deep breathing exercise, calm my nervous system, and then go upstairs, hang out with my girls. And I'm regulated. Okay, so for lack of saying this cliche, fill your cup up first so then you can fill others over time. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So that's number one, is create a transition routine, especially if you're someone who works from home. Number two, and these are not in any particular order, by the way. They're just what I kind of wrote down here. Number two is wake up early. In fact, wake up early before anyone else to get that me time. Now, this is specifically for me. If you're someone who actually does better late at night when everyone goes to bed and your time is from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., whatever it is, and your schedule can support that. Most people's schedules can't really support that, but in terms of some of the coaches that I work with. But if yours can, that's awesome. All the power to you. This isn't do exactly what I do type podcast. This is just me speaking from my experience to lend you some perspective so you can figure this out on your own. But those hours, especially if you're a father or a mother, those hours when your family is sleeping or is just quiet, don't have to be sleeping, and you can get some uninterrupted work done, some deep work done. As a business owner, that is invaluable. I cannot overstate this enough. That deep work block is so hard to come by. You want to protect that at all costs, and you want to find that at all costs. So if it's early in the morning or if it's late at night, it doesn't matter. But for me, it's usually waking up around 4 or 5 a.m. I know that's kind of early, but it gives me the opportunity to get between 3 to 5 hours of uninterrupted work done before Morgan and our daughter wakes up, and our second daughter, soon to come, is going to wake up. And what this does, it's actually less about getting ahead, even though it's 100% about that. It's about pushing some of the major projects forward, making sure that I'm able to cross off some of these big items on my to-do list. But it's also holistically friendly for your relationship as well, and for your ability to show up for your family, because now you have a sense of A, accomplishment, and B, your monkey mind as an entrepreneur isn't going as much because you just had a deep work block, right? You just got something off of your plate. You feel a little bit more calm versus if you wake up and the first thing that you wake up late and the first thing you do is look at your phone, and then you're getting breakfast for your family and you're just thinking about your day. That's a very different energy versus someone who wakes up early, they get a good work block done, and then when 8 or 9 a.m. rolls around and I go upstairs and I have a coffee with Morgan and with Sky, I'm a lot more regulated. I'm a lot more calm, right? So again, these are just some different ways that you guys can kind of borrow for yourself as well to optimize your routine and your performance as a business owner. These are some intangible things I think a lot of business coaches don't talk a lot about. And they can be one of the biggest difference makers inside of your online coaching business. So they're important to think about. So that's number two, is find those quiet pockets and get that work done. Number three for me, and this isn't for everyone. This is just for me, I think, based off where I'm at in business. This might not apply to a lot of you, but I have 2 phones, okay? So I have 2 phones. One phone is for work, one phone, no one has the number, and it's just for my family for emergencies. So phone number 1 stays down here in my office, right? Sometimes I give out, from my premium one-on-one coaching clients that I work with, I give them my personal number so that they can text me, voice note me, call me for emergencies or anything that comes up. It also has like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, like all the different social media apps on it as well. And just everything that you need to run a business, right? All the different apps, all the different notifications come on that phone. And then I have my bat phone, and my bat phone has nothing on it, just call and text and photos. That's it. And it's just for Morgan and my mom and like literally 2 or 3 other people for emergencies. And that's the only reason I have that phone. Reason being is because it's extremely hard to be in the moment when you have your phone on you, especially if you have apps on your phone like Instagram, or you're waiting for a message from a client or whatever it may be. Now, instead of me trying to increase my willpower to not look at my phone and things like that, I'm human just like you. My brain is designed in the exact way your brain is designed. It's freaking hard to turn that stuff off. So I got 2 phones, and I manipulated my environment in order to make it extremely easy for me not to look at my phone. So I have this other phone that has nothing on it, and it's just for emergencies. So when I end my day, my work phone stays down here. My bat phone I take and we go upstairs. And if we go out to dinner, or if Sky and I are on a walk or whatever it may be, I have my emergency phone, and I can't check my email. I can't check Instagram. I can't check client messages. I can't do any of those things. Why? Because those things aren't important to me during those hours. Those things are important to me during my work hours. Sure, absolutely. But during the hours that I'm with my family, nothing else is important. Nothing is more important than that. So I set up my environment in a way to make that, what I just said there, conducive to that outcome, is spending quality in the moment time with Morgan, Sky, our dog, and our second daughter soon to come. So I'm not saying everyone needs to do that. Maybe you can just have better boundaries with your phone than I do, or you can just turn your phone off during hours you want to be in the moment with your family or with your loved ones. But it is important not only to have higher quality in the moment time with your family, but it's also important just for your own mental health. If you're always on, if you always have open tabs in your mind and you're always looking at your Instagram and social media, it's not healthy. It's honestly just not healthy. Use social media and your phone for work, and then when work is done, shut that shit off. Okay? Burnout as an online coach is extremely prevalent. And it's not necessarily because you're working too hard. It's because you don't have boundaries. And I can say that from experience. That's why I'm creating this podcast. So create those boundaries. And that's just one example from me, is having 2 phones. So that's number 3. Number four, and this is maybe more so for, could be for both, male and female. But this is what I specifically do with my wife, Morgan. So because I wake up early at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., I need to go to bed early. So I go to bed, I try to be asleep by 9 or 9:30. And what I do from 8 to 9, so that's kind of the hour before I go to bed. Usually I take a shower, or I do different things like take a bath, brush my teeth. I put on a nose strip because if you guys can't tell by this video, I've got a deviated septum on this. You guys see it as left, but it's my right nostril. So anyway, and sometimes I tape my mouth too because I want to nasal breathe during the night. So I get all that stuff ready. I don't do it yet. Super sexy, by the way. Anyway, and then what I do from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. is Morgan and I talk. So if you're a parent, especially if you have a toddler like we do, from when you're spending time with your toddler, you're not exactly connecting as a couple. In fact, probably the quite opposite. And you probably can't even talk because your toddler is screaming, going crazy, and doing whatever. So from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., that's when Morgan and I were just laying in bed, and we're just kind of unpacking our day. We're understanding what the week looks like, if there's anything we need to talk about, and we're communicating, okay? I cannot overstate this enough, especially if you are a husband listening to this podcast. You cannot over-communicate. You can't. If you think you're communicating enough, you're not. Communicate more. That is, and you women listening to this podcast, yeah, I'm sure you're applauding me right now, because that is one of the main lessons I have learned and being a husband. So that's number 4, is connect with your loved one or your spouse before bed. Make sure that you guys are on the same page, because again, your relationship is also tethered to your business. I'm not saying your relationship is your business, but if you're going through personal problems with your husband or your wife, I guarantee you that's showing up in your business in some way. So you got to take care of your stuff. Take care of your stuff. So that's number 4. Number 5, treat your health like work. Treat your health like work, because it very much is. So for example, if I'm fat, overweight, and my stress levels are all over the place, cortisol levels are all over the place, I can't focus, guess what happens to my business? It goes to the shitter, right? Why is that? It's because it's a direct reflection of my health and my capacity to do work. So you need to treat your health like work. For example, for me, my workouts are scheduled in my Google Calendar. Getting outside and getting 20 minutes of sunlight on my body, take my shirt off, get sun on my body for 20 minutes, that's scheduled in my calendar. Going outside when I have my coffee and going barefoot in the grass and getting some morning sun in my eyes and just sipping my coffee and grounding my feet for the negative ions on the earth, that is scheduled for 10 minutes when the sun comes up, usually around 6 a.m. on my calendar. Why? Is because I do not want anything to get in the way of that. That is arguably the most important thing, because if I can't do those things, well, I don't have the capacity to be able to lead and coach my clients in the way that I need to, right? So for you guys, it's similar. You obviously, those are just a couple things from me, but share whatever health habits are more effective and conducive to your performance and you getting things done and vibrating at the highest frequency that you can, and schedule that in. Schedule that into your calendar and do not miss it. Be militant with it and treat it like work. Like my workout is part of my day. It's part of my day. So that is very important as well. Treat your health like work. Number 6, this is a big one. This is a big one. Weekends are where you get ahead. Okay? Weekends are where you get ahead, but don't sacrifice your family for it. So here's where I want you to have your cake and eat it too. I never understood that saying, ever. I don't even know why I just said it. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. But anyway, what I'm saying here is during the weekends, I still wake up early, right? So the weekends aren't time where, oh, nice, I'm totally going to chill. Sometimes I do, don't get me wrong. Like if we're going on vacation, or if I just know like, man, my nervous system is fried and I need to recover and I'm just going to sleep for 9 hours if I can. Sometimes I do that. I'm very in tune and intuitive with my body if I need it. But usually on weekends, I have the same morning routine, right? Like I still wake up early, and I try to get a good 4 to 5 hour block done of work. So if I'm waking up at 4 and I get to work at 5, from 5 to 9 or 10 a.m., I try and get a good work block done. And you guys should, if you can, do the same. And then what happens? I go upstairs at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. I have breakfast with my family. I connect with them. And then we go do our day, whatever we're doing. If we're going to the park, if we're meeting up with our friends, whatever it is. And again, I feel good about myself as an entrepreneur because I did something. I got something done. And I'm not saying you need to reward yourself like a dog in terms of like doing work. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I'd rather you move the needle in your business and get something done versus hang out with your family all day and be anxious and not be in the moment because you're thinking about all of these other things in your business. Take care of your shit. Take care of your shit before your family wakes up, and then go about your day and create that space for your family. Hang out with your family. So that's what I do on weekends. And again, that's very important for me. Again, I learned this the hard way because sometimes things would come up in the morning and I wouldn't get those work block done. And it still happens from time to time. Just things come up and then I'm not able to get those work blocks done. And then I'm thinking about those work blocks, or I'm thinking about different things I need to do, and I'm not in the moment with my family. So what I try to do, and this is the theme of this podcast, is I try to set up my life in a way where I can handle my shit, essentially, and then I can be there for my family. I can lead my family, my relationships, my friends, my clients, whatever it may be that comes up after that, right? I'm also a volunteer firefighter for my town. So if I have training or if I get calls, things like that, I have the capacity to be there depending on what's going on. So that's number six. Weekends are where you get ahead, but don't sacrifice your family for it. Number 7, this is the last one. Number 7 is get outside more. So Cody Crockett, Dr. Cody Crockett, and I just did a podcast on this. And this is very, very much something I know to be true as an online entrepreneur. When you guys are looking at screens all day and you're looking at your phone all day, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. Now, I'm not a scientist who's going to go into the electromagnetic frequencies and what that does to your DNA and your body. That's not my zone of genius, although I do look into that from time to time. Us as humans, we're made to be integrated with nature. Okay, we need to get outside. We need to ground ourselves, go to the beach, go into a forest, get some fresh air in your lungs, right? That is how our cells are designed as human beings. So if you're anything like me early on in my career when I was super busy and you're on tech all of the time and you're connected with tech, it creates this dis-ease in your body, right? Because it's not how your body is designed. So what I like to do, because tech is very important, like I need to look at screens all day because of my the clients that I work with are all over the world. I need to be on Instagram and look at my phone and do some of these other things because it's the nature of my business. But again, going back to my point of how treat your health as work and schedule health in your Google Calendar, and having a dog is also great benefit for this because you need to walk him or her, is when you're done like an intense work block, try and get outside for 20 minutes. Okay. Or if you're done your day, try and get outside for an hour. And we do this all the time with our daughter, and any more kids that we have, we're going to try and get outside as much as possible, because not only is it healthy for them, it's also extremely healthy for me and my wife. But me, in terms of looking at tech all day, you need to get out of that. You need to remove yourself from that environment and recalibrate as a human being. So that's number 7. And that's it, guys. That's all I got for you on this podcast. Some overarching kind of bird's eye view principles of what I just took you through today is, number 1, communicate. Make sure that you're communicating with your family. You're communicating with the biggest stakeholders in your life, to give it a weird example, because they are, right? Like they are. If it's your wife, your husband, your kids, if you guys are younger, your mom, dad, whatever it may be, communicate with your family, and structure your days and stick to it. If you're an entrepreneur, you are going to live and die by the things that you say you're going to do, or you write down, or you schedule in your Google Calendar. So structure your days effectively and stick to it, and don't waste time. Okay. So for example, like our daughter goes to forest schools a couple days a week. And when Sky's in forest school, we're not wasting time, like the things that we need to get done, we'll get done. Or if we need a date night or a date lunch, we'll do a date lunch or whatever it may be. But we're not like, oh, let's just watch TV for 2 hours. Like, no, you need to get your shit done and use those pockets as effectively as you can, and make sure that you're planning your weeks, you're planning your months to get done the things that you need to get done. But don't forget about the most important thing, which is the memories that you create with your family. Okay, and the legacy that you're going to leave behind. So with that being said, guys, that's all I got for you today. Like I said, this isn't necessarily me coming from a place of trying to educate you on what's best. It's actually quite the opposite, because even all of the things that I just said, it's going to tweak and adjust as my seasons of life change as well. It's just more so me explaining what's worked for me over the last 7 years of business, and you take this with a grain of salt in terms of how it can help you be more productive, but also find that balance point in the different areas in life that are important to you. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.